vessels of government, we must guard against the acquisition of unwarranted influence, whether sought or unsought, by the military-industrial complex.
In Dallas, Texas, 3 shots were fired at President Kennedy's motorcade in downtown Dallas. The first reports say that President Kennedy has been seriously wounded by this shooting.
It is a big idea, a new world order.
It was almost as if it were a planned implosion. It just pancaked.
Either you are with us, or you are with the terrorists.
But I also believe that a lot of gun owners would agree that AK-47s belong in the hands of soldiers, not in the hands of criminals.
Guns will be taken, and no one will be able to be armed. We're going to take all guns.
For many of the police and guard troops, it is an uncomfortable job to do this in an American city.
Global governance at last. Is it one world? The central bankers in charge. But aren't we all just living and dying for what the central banks do?
As for me, give me liberty or give me death!
The answer to 1984 is 1776.
Welcome to the INFOWARS Nightly News. I'm your host, Jakari Jackson. Here's what we have in store for you for this November 20th, 2013 edition.
Tonight, government demands blood or saliva randomly from Texas drivers. Then, J.P. Morgan's given a record $13 billion penalty by the government, 85% tax deductible. And will free speech die in Dallas 50 years later? All that and more on tonight's INFOWARS Nightly News.
And welcome back. Our top story tonight, Texas drivers pulled over at random, told to turn over blood and saliva samples. But don't take my word for it. Let's take a look at the clip.
They were asking for cheek swabs. They would pay you $10 cash for that. They would also, if you let them take your blood, they would pay you $50 for that. It doesn't seem right that you would be forced off of the road when you're not doing anything wrong.
There's the fine print on the form given to drivers. It informs them their breath was tested when they first stopped by, quote, passive alcohol sensor readings before the consent process has been completed.
They're essentially lying to you when they say, hey, this is completely voluntary.
Now, this is nothing new here in the state of Texas. For some reason, I don't know if Texas is a giant beta test or what's going on, but we see these roadside cavity searches. We have these no refusal DUI weekends in some places like San Antonio. It's every day of the year. And it's not just here in the state of Texas, but it's been hitting here pretty hard recently. And you can see the article right there on your screen. And they'll pull you over, they draw your blood, and this is just another thing. And you heard they say, well, we'll pay you for it this time. We'll pay you for your blood. We'll pay you for your saliva and all this stuff. Well, you still forced me off the road. Why are you doing this here in the great state of Texas? And something else that is right in the great state of Texas, we have this: jury finds C.J. Grisham guilty of interfering with police duties. Now, C.J. Grisham is the president of Open Carry Texas. You can see their Facebook page right there. And basically, Mr. Grisham was earlier this year rudely displaying, claims the officer who arrested him, his rifle when he was walking down the street with his son. The officer arrested him for not complying with his totalitarian wishes. And eventually, Mr. Grisham went to trial. I was there the first day of his original trial. That ended in mistrial, and now the new jury has given him a guilty verdict. Now, he is planning to fight this. Now, I do want to point out to people that CJ not only served his country, but currently serves his country. He is active duty military. So a man who is willing to die, to put his life on the line, to defend rights, dare come home and says, I want my rights here in the States, and then they say no way. So my support does go out to C.J. Grisham and also the members of Open Carry Texas. Father arrested for trying to pick up kids from school. Now, this gentleman, he goes to school and he says, I want to pick up my child, because he doesn't want his child to walk home alone. He doesn't want the hassle of having to drive to the school. And you can see the gentleman right there. He calmly debates with this officer, the sheriff, and the sheriff basically arrests him for disagreeing with him. And he says, you're being childish, you're doing all this, you're all doing all that. So this is a situation, we've seen this before, where they don't want you to pack your kids' lunches, and we even had an article out today talking about how a woman was charged $10 because she didn't put all the necessary crackers and stuff that the school said she had to have in her lunch. But staying on topic with this is the police state coming to your school, and it is a lengthy clip, so I do encourage you to go to INFOWARS.com and see the whole deal for yourself. But he says, I don't want to have to wait an hour and a half to pick up my child. I just want to pick up my child now. And the officer said, pretty much, we'll give you your child when we're good and ready. And you can see it on your screen right there. As I alluded to earlier, a woman charged $10 because she didn't put all the Ritz crackers and whatever else the school says that she should have in her child's lunch. Maybe the kid doesn't like Ritz crackers, and even if you think the child was somehow malnourished, $10 for a pack of crackers, that's pretty ridiculous. Now, something else that is really, truly ridiculous, and I've seen this on the internet, but I didn't know how big of a deal it actually was. Police, example of troubling knockout game popping up all over. Now, like I said, I'd seen this before on the internet, you know, stupid guys, they run around and they punch people in the back of the head and they run off. And I mean, like, that's very unfortunate, but I didn't realize how big of an issue this actually is. This is going up all over, and I will say that in many of these videos I have seen, not just these two that you're seeing right now, but in many of these videos that I have seen, it's usually young black males attacking people of other races, especially if they're females or elderly. So you got these young punks running around punching people, running off, and somehow thinking that they're cool. Now, this is especially prevalent in the city of New York, and I know New Yorkers have enough stuff to worry about, but you know, be careful when you're on the subways, you're walking down the street, especially if you're elderly or a woman, because these guys may just run up and punch you in the back of the head and then put it on YouTube. I don't know how these guys have avoided capture, but definitely watch yourself. Now, somebody was watching JP Morgan, and they actually got charged. They got caught with something for once. So we see this article, JP Morgan and record $13 billion settlement with U.S. authorities. Now, while I am happy that the big banks are actually being charged and fined, $13 billion over a bank's entire history isn't really a whole lot of money. But regardless, I'm glad that they've been charged with something, so you can go to that article and see that full report for yourself. Now, we're going to end tonight with this. Rand Paul hints at 2016 presidential run. I think they want someone outside of, you know, what's been going on. Paul said, referring to the political sideshow in Washington. For example, someone like myself who has been promoting term limits, Paul told Fox News Monday. So regardless if you agree with everything Rand Paul does or what his father did, you know, I think this guy's definitely better than most and better than pretty much any other option we're going to have in 2016. So at least think about it. You got plenty of time. Now, something that you don't have a lot of time for is the JFK assassination that's going on right now. Well, not the current assassination, obviously, but the coverage of the assassination. And not just the assassination, but the First Amendment trials and tribulations that are going on right now in the city of Dallas, Texas. That's why INFOWARS is there right now. And you can join Alex and the rest of the crew at the Federal Reserve building right there in Dallas, Texas. So if you're in Dallas, if you plan to be there during the event, get to the Federal Reserve tonight. They're going to be handing out posters. They're going to have speeches and rallies and different things that you can find on that article. If we can scroll back up to the top so people can see the headline, so people can go and find this for yourself. It has the events for today, but not just today, but for the rest of the week. So you don't want to miss this stuff. Check it out. JFK 50th anniversary, fight for free speech. And this is what it's about. We'll be handing out posters, poster boards, flyers, all kinds of things, and a lot of surprises I can't talk about right now, but they hope to see you right there in Dallas, Texas, coming up this weekend. There's a lot of great things waiting for you starting tonight right there in the city of Dallas. And don't forget, it starts tonight if you're watching this live on PrisonPlanet.tv, and not too much time, 8 p.m. Federal Reserve. You want to be there. And you can also check out the live streams at Infowars.com/show. Now, if you want to support the broadcast, you can stop by PrisonPlanet.tv and pick up your 15-day free trial. You can get the Alex Jones Show, the nightly news, the rants, all that right there at PrisonPlanet.tv. Now, stay tuned, because after this break, David Knight will be talking to Gerald Celente about a different aspect of the JFK assassination you may not have seen before.
we're on our way right now, going straight to Pearl Street for the Federal Reserve protest, where we'll be passing out 30,000 flyers. We got about 100 posters. And so if you're getting this on Ustream right now, then head on down there. We'll see you there in about an hour from now. It's like 6:30 Central. And we will be there by 7:30, passing those out. And we want everybody to be there, all the activists out there. We are going to not let the city of Dallas stifle the First Amendment in Dallas, Texas on the 50th anniversary of JFK. They've already paved over the street where the bullet holes were because they want to rewrite history, and we're not going to let them do that. So we will see you there. This is Rob Dew signing off.
This is a conspiracy by the technocrats, by the ruling elite, by the eugenicists that want to dumb us down. This is the iodine conspiracy. Our government wasn't always a eugenicist-based predatory group. Back in the 1920s, the federal government pressured salt manufacturers and bread producers to add iodine because they knew that iodine deficiencies were causing massive decreases in IQ, birth defects, and it was a health crisis all across the United States and in Europe as well. In the decade after iodine was added to staple foods, there was a 15-point increase in IQs in the areas that had previously been deficient. So what did the federal government do a couple decades later? They took the good halogen iodine out and added another bad one, bromine. And they put the worst of the group, fluoride and fluorine derivatives, in our water supply and began using it as a pesticide on the crops. Let's be clear about this. Adding bromine to the food supply is banned in the EU, banned in Canada, and banned in many other nations because it is a toxic poison listed in those countries. I've done deep research on the globalist program to dumb down the population to make us more manageable. It is eugenics. And I personally take the highest quality form of unbound iodine, nascent iodine, in a kosher certified, non-GMO certified glycerin base. I've interviewed the experts, people like Dr. Brownstein and pharmacist Ben Fuchs, and of course Dr. Edward Groot. And across the board, the consensus is iodine is the missing piece of the puzzle. And not just iodine, but high quality, unbound, pure iodine. Bottom line, this is something on record our bodies need. I've gone out and found the best source for myself and my family. I hope you'll visit InfoWarsLife.com and get our InfoWars Life Survival Shield. It really does incredible things. And we've got nothing but positive reviews from our listeners. And this also helps support our news operation and the info war while we get the iodine we need and block the fluoride and the other members of the halogen that are so bad for our bodies. Check out the information. Do the research for yourself. Talk to your physician and then decide whether you want to drink fluoridated water that Harvard, major studies admits is giving people brain cancer and bone cancer and lowering their IQ, or whether you want to find a high quality source of iodine. Consult your physician, do your research, and make a decision. But whatever you do, don't just ignore this message, because all of my research shows this is absolutely key to getting people out of the brain fog that they've been artificially put into by the social engineers. Visit InfoWarsLife.com today.